I can't marry you. I'm in love with my ex. She cried 2 weeks before the wedding. So I canceled everything, sold the house, and moved states. Hey viewers, before we move on to the video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you want to see more stories like this. Thanks. The place cards arrived on a Tuesday. I remember because the sun was streaming through the bay window of the house we'd bought together, illuminating the dust motes dancing in the air like specks of gold. I'd just finished assembling the final, absurdly complex IKEA bookshelf for our shared library, a project I'd been putting off for months. The scent of fresh pine and coffee hung in the air. It was a perfect, peaceful moment, the kind you mentally bookmark as a happy memory. Qley was at the dining table, a fortress of wedding planning. Binders, fabric swatches, and a scattered rainbow of place cards surrounded her. She was meticulously writing out names in her elegant, looping cursive, the one thing, she always said, her mother ever taught her that was actually beautiful. "Look at this, Liam," she said, holding one up. "Mr. and Mrs. Henderson. It looks so official." I walked over, wiping sawdust from my hands onto my jeans, and kissed the top of her head. Her hair smelled like her shampoo, coconut, and vanilla. "It is official. 2 weeks. We're almost there." She smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. I'd noticed that a lot lately. A distant look, a preoccupation I'd chalked up to pre-wedding jitters. I was an architect. I understood stress. I figured it was just the pressure of finalizing 100 different details. "I was thinking," she said, her voice a little too light. "Maybe we should have a separate kids' table after all. My cousin's twins are energetic." "Whatever you think is best, honey. You're the CEO of Operation I Do." I went to make us more coffee. This was our life. The comfortable silences, the shared projects, the gentle teasing. We'd built this. The house, the future, the us. For 3 years, it had felt like the most solid construction of my life. That night, the solidity turned to sand. I was in bed, reading a novel on my tablet, when she came in. She'd been quiet all evening, claiming a headache. She didn't get ready for bed. Instead, she sat on the edge of the mattress, her back to me, the weight of her body making the springs creak. "Liam," she said, her voice small and tight. "We need to talk." I put the tablet down. My heart did a little stutter step, the kind it does when you sense a sudden drop on a roller coaster you didn't know you were on. "Okay, what's up? Is it the venue coordinator again? Do I need to go down there? And it's not the venue." She took a sharp, ragged breath. It's everything." I sat up, leaning against the headboard. "What do you mean, everything? Talk to me." She turned then, and in the dim light from my tablet, I saw her face was streaked with tears. My first instinct was to reach for her, to comfort her. I stopped myself. There was a wall there, invisible but palpable. "I can't do this," she whispered, the words hitting me like a physical blow. "I'm so sorry, Liam. I can't marry you." The world didn't shatter. It just stopped. The hum of the refrigerator faded. The clock on the nightstand went silent. There was only the sound of my own blood pounding in my ears. "What are you talking about?" My voice was eerily calm. Is this just cold feet? Because that's normal, Qley. Everyone says that's normal." She shook her head, tears falling faster now. "It's not cold feet. It's my heart. It's not in it. Not in it." I repeated, the phrase feeling alien and stupid on my tongue. "We bought a house together. We have joint insurance. We're getting married in 14 days. Your heart has seemed pretty in it for the last 3 years." "I know. I thought it was," she cried, her voice rising in pitch. "I thought I was over him. I really did. But every time I look at these place cards, every time I taste the cake samples, every time I pick out a song for the first dance, I don't think of you and me. I think of him." The air left my lungs. Him. There was only one him that carried that weight. Jake. The ex-boyfriend from before me. The one with the motorcycle and the reckless smile. The one who'd broken her heart and whose ghost I'd spent years patiently exorcising. "Jake," I said, the name a curse in the quiet room. She nodded, a fresh wave of sobs racking her body. She was the picture of misery, but all I could feel was a cold, spreading numbness. "He reached out a few months ago, just to talk," he said. "And we started talking, and it all just came flooding back. The passion, the intensity, it was never like that with us, Liam. What we have is comfortable. It's safe. But with him, I feel alive. Each word was a precise, surgical cut. So, I said, my voice still flat, devoid of the rage that should have been there. Let me get this straight. For months, while we've been planning our wedding, booking a venue, sending out invitations, buying a fucking house, you've been emotionally involved with your ex-boyfriend. It wasn't like that, she insisted, the classic refrain of the caught. It just happened. I never meant to hurt you. I'm so confused. I can't marry you when I'm in love with someone else. It wouldn't be fair to you. The hypocrisy was so vast, so breathtaking, that I almost laughed. The unfairness was the foundation of this entire conversation. I looked around our bedroom, at the photo of us in Costa Rica on the dresser, at the closet where her clothes hung next to mine, at the stack of wedding binders visible through the doorway. It all looked like a stage set, a flimsy fabrication. The man I was 2 minutes ago would have begged. He would have listed all our happy memories. He would have promised to be more passionate, less safe. He would have fought for her. But that man was gone, dismantled by 6 sentences. I looked at her, at this woman who was crying because she was the one breaking her own heart by betraying me. I saw the entire, pathetic narrative she'd built for herself. The tragic heroine torn between safe, reliable Liam and the passionate, exciting Jake. And I was done being a character in her story. I swung my legs out of bed and stood up. I felt incredibly calm. The kind of calm that comes after a diagnosis, when the worst has been confirmed and all that's left is the treatment. Okay, I said. She stared at me, her sobs hiccuping to a stop. Okay, what does that mean? It means I understand, I said, walking toward the door. You're in love with Jake. You can't marry me. The message is received. Liam, wait, she scrambled off the bed. Aren't you? Aren't you going to say anything else? Aren't you angry? Yell at me. Something. I paused at the doorway, my hand on the frame. I looked back at her, at the stunned confusion on her tear-stained face. She had expected drama. She had expected a scene worthy of her grand, tragic dilemma. I gave her nothing. What would you like me to say, Qley? You've been very clear. You think what we built is comfortable. You think he makes you feel alive. I'm not going to beg you to see value in a life you've already decided to throw away. I turned and walked down the hall toward the spare room, the floor cool beneath my feet. Behind me, I heard a choked cry, but I didn't look back. The first phase was over. The demolition had begun. I didn't sleep. I sat in the spare room's armchair, watching the digital clock on the nightstand flip from 11:59 p.m. to 12 a.m. My wedding day was now in 13 days. The thought was no longer a source of joy, but a simple, logistical problem to be solved. The initial numbness had receded, replaced by a cold, crystalline clarity. There was no room for grief. Grief was a luxury for a future version of me. The present version had a project to manage, the systematic dismantling of a life. At 7:01 a.m., I heard the master bedroom door open and the sound of the shower running. I waited until it stopped, then walked out. Qley was in the kitchen, her eyes puffy and red, clutching a mug of tea. She looked at me, a silent question hanging in the air. Have you changed your mind? Are you going to fight for us? I walked past her to the coffee maker. I didn't look at her. Liam, she began, her voice fragile. I need to make some calls, I said, my tone as neutral as if I'd said, I need to get the oil changed. I poured my coffee, walked into my home office, and closed the door. The first call was the hardest. My mother answered on the second ring, her voice bright. Liam, good morning, sweetie. Just finalizing the guest list for the rehearsal dinner with your father. I took a breath. There was no good way to do this. Mom, the wedding's off. A beat of stunned silence. What? What do you mean, off? Did something happen to the venue? A fire? No. Qley is in love with someone else. Her ex, Jake. She can't go through with it. Another silence, longer this time. I could hear the sound of her world recalibrating. Oh, my boy. Oh, Liam. I'm so sorry. Where are you? Are you okay? Do you want us to come over? I'm fine. I'm at home. And no, please don't come over. I have a lot to handle. We can help you, honey. We can, Mom, I said, my voice firm, leaving no room for argument. I need you to tell Dad. And I need you to let me handle this my way. There's nothing to discuss. It's over. I hung up, the finality of the words settling in the room. Then I opened the master wedding spreadsheet, my color-coded, hyper-organized masterpiece of project management, and got to work. The calls began. I was a machine, and my script was brutally efficient. Call to the venue coordinator, Evelyn. Evelyn, it's Liam Walsh. Regarding the booking on the 15th. I need to cancel. Yes, the wedding. The bride is in love with her former partner. No, there is no rescheduling. Please email me the final invoice for any cancellation fees. Thank you for your understanding. Click. Call to the caterer. Hi, this is Liam Walsh. I'm canceling the order for the 15th. The event is off. The reason? Irreconcilable differences of the heart. Just the cancellation fees, please. Email them over. Click. Call to the band. Yeah, hi? Liam Walsh. You're booked for my wedding on the 15th. Consider yourself unbooked. The bride called it off. Yeah, it's a shitty situation. Send the bill. I was mercilessly, surgically honest. I used the words called off and in love with her ex, like a scalpel, cutting through any potential awkwardness or pity. My bluntness was a shield. It preempted their questions and stripped the situation of its drama, reducing it to a simple transaction, a canceled event with associated costs. Around noon, I emerged to get a glass of water. Qley was on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, her phone in her hand. She looked utterly bewildered. The band just texted me, she said, her voice hollow. They said they were sorry to hear about the cancellation. How do they already know? I told them. I said, refilling my water glass. You told them? What did you say? The truth. I turned to look at her, and for the first time, I saw a flicker of something beyond regret in her eyes, shame. I said the bride is in love with her ex-boyfriend, and the wedding is off. It seemed the most efficient way to avoid confusion. Her face crumpled. You didn't have to tell them that. You're humiliating me. A cold smile touched my lips. No, Qley. You humiliated yourself. I'm just handling the logistics. I went back into the office. The next call was to a real estate agent I knew professionally. I listed the house. As is, furnished. I want it sold fast. Then I called a storage unit company and booked one for my personal items. The books, the tools, the things that were mine before her. I worked until the sky outside my window turned from blue to black. When I walked out, the house was silent. Qley was gone, probably to a friend's or to Jake's. It didn't matter. I stood in the living room, the scene of last night's destruction. The place cards were still on the table. I picked one up. Mr. and Mrs. Henderson. I didn't crush it. I simply dropped it into the recycling bin. It was just paper now. The grief was there, a vast, dark ocean waiting beneath the ice I was standing on. But I wouldn't let it through. Not yet. For now, there was only the next task, the next call, the next box to pack. I was disappearing, piece by piece, from a life that had already erased me. I moved into a temporary apartment the following week. The silence there was different. It was mine, untainted by her ghost. The grief finally broke through the ice, and for a few days, I let it. I sat in the dark. I didn't shave. I ate takeout. I allowed myself to feel the full, crushing weight of the betrayal. And then, when I was done, I stood up, showered, and got back to work. The sale of the house proceeded at a brutal pace. I'd priced it to sell, and it did, in under 10 days. The profit, after the mortgage was paid, was split down the middle. I transferred her half without a note. It was the last financial tether between us. My firm had offices nationwide. I put in for a transfer to the Denver branch, a city I'd always loved but Qley had deemed too rugged. They accepted. I used what was left of my honeymoon fund for a deposit on a modern loft with a view of the mountains. I blocked Qley's number. I deleted my social media accounts and created new, private ones. I was a ghost, and I was building a new haunt 2,000 miles away. The information about her downfall didn't come from her. It came in drips and drabs from a single, guilt-ridden mutual friend, Stacy, who I'd forgotten to block. Stacy, 3 weeks after I moved. Hey Liam. Just heard you moved. Hope you're okay. It's a mess here. Qley and Jake lasted about a month. I read the text. I felt nothing. I didn't reply. Stacy, a week later. Jake told her he wasn't built for monogamy. Said the whole drama of stealing a bride was the exciting part. Now that it was real, he was bored. He's already seeing someone else. A part of me, the old architect, appreciated the irony. The foundation she'd left me for was not just shaky, it was non-existent. He was a man who thrived on the blueprint of an affair, not the construction of a life. Stacy, a month later, Qley's a wreck. She had to move back in with her mom. A lot of people are pissed at her. She lost a ton of money on the wedding stuff you didn't cancel. I finally typed a reply. Me. Stacy, I appreciate you thinking of me. But what happens in Qley's life is no longer of any interest to me. Please don't update me again. I hope you're well. I blocked her number. The pipeline was closed. The karma was perfect, and it was entirely of her own making. She had been discarded just as she had discarded me. The passion and intensity she craved had burned her to ash. The comfortable, stable life she'd scorned was the very thing she now desperately needed. Her reputation was in tatters, her finances were a mess, and she was living in her childhood bedroom, surrounded by the ghosts of her own terrible decisions. I stood on the balcony of my Denver loft, breathing in the crisp, thin air. The Rockies were a purple silhouette against a blazing orange sunset. Down below, the city lights began to twinkle, each one a possibility I hadn't had before. I felt no satisfaction. No triumphant, I told you so. The feeling was more profound than that. It was a complete and utter indifference. Her suffering was not my victory. My victory was this view, this peace, this new life, built on the solid ground of my own worth, a ground she had proven herself unworthy of sharing. The chaos was hers. The silence was mine. And I preferred the silence. The silence in my new life was a balm. I filled it with the sounds of a city I was learning to love, the distant wail of a train, the hum of downtown traffic, the wind whistling through the mountain passes. I built a new routine. I joined a rock climbing gym. I started dating, casually, with a woman from my building who was smart, funny, and had no connection to the wreckage I'd left behind. My peace was punctuated by the distant, muffled explosions of Qley's unraveling. My new number was a fortress, but she found cracks in the walls I'd built. It started 6 months after I'd left. Unknown number, 10:14 p.m. Hey, it's Qley. I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I saw a photo of the Rockies from your mom's Facebook, and it made me think of that trip we talked about taking. I hope you're doing okay. I stared at the text. The audacity of it. The casual, nostalgic tone, as if she were an old camp friend checking in. She was testing the waters, seeing if the bridge was even still there. I deleted the message and blocked the number. There was no bridge. There was a canyon, and I was on the other side. 2 weeks later, my phone buzzed with a voicemail from another new number. Against my better judgment, I played it. Her voice was thick with tears, a dramatic, performative sadness. Liam, it's me. God, I don't even know what to say. Jake, he was a monster. You were right about everything. He used me, and then he just left. I've lost everything. Our friends, the house, my future. I'm so alone. I keep thinking about our kitchen and the way you used to make me coffee in the morning. I was such an idiot. I ruined the best thing that ever happened to me. Please, can you just call me back? I need to hear your voice. I felt a distant, clinical pity, the kind you might feel for a character in a depressing movie. She wasn't apologizing for hurting me. She was lamenting the consequences she faced. She missed the coffee I made, the stability I provided, the life I curated. She didn't miss me. I deleted the voicemail. The next assault came via a flying monkey. My phone rang, and the screen displayed a name I hadn't seen in a year. Carol, Qley's mom. I almost didn't answer, but a cold curiosity got the better of me. Mark, it's Carol. Her tone was the same as always, sharp, imperious, assuming compliance. It's Liam, Carol. And to what do I owe the pleasure? She ignored the correction. We need to talk about Qley. She's in a very bad way. That animal she left you for has destroyed her. She's not eating, she's not sleeping. She's a shadow of herself. I'm sorry to hear that, I said, my voice flat and devoid of any actual sorrow. Aren't you going to do something about it? She demanded, her voice rising. You loved her once. A real man would show some compassion. She made a mistake. People make mistakes, Liam. Don't you still care about her at all? This was the crucial moment. The trap was set. Agree, and I'd be pulled back into the drama. Get angry, and I'd be proving I still cared. I chose a third option. The truth. Carol, I said, my voice calm and measured. Qley didn't make a mistake. She made a conscious, sustained choice to betray me 2 weeks before our wedding. The person you're describing, the one who is not eating or sleeping, is dealing with the direct consequences of that choice. Her well-being is no longer my concern. It hasn't been for a long time. I hope she gets the help she needs, but it won't be from me. Goodbye. I hung up on her sputtering protests. That, I knew, would be the final straw for Qley. The calm, unassailable logic was a weapon she couldn't fight. It denied her the emotional explosion she needed to feel validated. It took less than 24 hours for the mask to fully slip. A final text blazed onto my screen from a third number. Unknown number, 11:47 p.m. You are a cold, heartless bastard. You never really loved me, or you would have fought for me. You just gave up and ran away. You're a coward. I'm glad I didn't marry you. There it was. The true colors, blazing with bitter, hypocritical fire. She had rewritten history entirely. In her mind, I was the villain for not begging her to stay after she told me she loved another man. I was the coward for not fighting for a relationship she had already torpedoed. I didn't block the number. I simply deleted the message. She had finally shown the last card in her hand, and it was a joker. She had no power left. A year to the day after I'd signed the initial transfer papers, my new company sent me back to my old city for a major client presentation. It was my first time back. The city felt smaller, like a suit I'd outgrown. The presentation was a success. As I was packing my laptop, my phone vibrated. It was my lawyer. The final paperwork from the house sale, some tax document we'd missed, was ready for my signature. I could sign it electronically, or I could stop by his office, which was just a few blocks away, before my flight. I chose to stop by. I wanted every last thread severed. As I walked out of the sleek high-rise, document in hand, I felt a sense of profound closure. The chapter was officially, legally over. I decided to grab one last coffee from the place Qley and I used to go on Sundays. Not for nostalgia, but as a kind of exorcism. I was standing at the counter, waiting for my order, when I felt a presence behind me. A familiar scent of coconut and vanilla, now soured by a note of stale cigarettes. Liam. I turned. It was Qley. She looked worn. Her clothes were trendy but cheap, a fast fashion imitation of her old style. Her eyes had a frantic, hungry look, and there were new, fine lines around her mouth. The vibrant woman I'd proposed to was gone, replaced by someone harder, more desperate. Qley, I said, my voice neutral, as if acknowledging an acquaintance. I can't believe it's you. She clutched her purse strap like a lifeline. My mom said you were in town for work. I was hoping I'd run into you. I doubted that was a coincidence. Well, here we are. Can we talk? Just for a minute? Please. The plea in her voice was raw. I looked at my watch. My flight wasn't for 3 hours. I felt no anxiety, no anger. Just a weary desire to complete this final piece of business. All right. 5 minutes. We took a small table in the corner. She clutched her latte with both hands, as if for warmth. You look good, she said, her eyes scanning me. I was wearing a well-tailored suit. I was tanned from weekend hikes, and my posture was no longer that of a man carrying the weight of a failing relationship. I looked like what I was, successful and at peace. Thank you, I said. You wanted to talk? The dam broke. It was a rehearsed monologue, full of the self-pity I'd heard in her voicemail. My life is a mess, Liam. A complete mess. I lost my job. I'm waiting tables. Jake was a con artist. He maxed out my credit cards before he left. I'm living with my mom, and it's humiliating. I see our friends sometimes, and they look at me with such pity. She looked at me, her eyes begging. I lost everything. My job, my friends, my home, you. You were my real life. I was an idiot. A scared, stupid idiot. We can start over, can't we? We can get back what we had. I took a slow sip of my black coffee. I let her words hang in the air, let her see that they had no effect on me. Qley, I said, my voice calm and firm, like a teacher explaining a simple concept to a slow student. What we had is a memory, and not a particularly good one. You see, you didn't just break my heart 2 weeks before our wedding. You showed me that the woman I loved was a fiction. The real you was capable of a cruelty and a selfishness I couldn't have imagined. She opened her mouth to protest, but I held up a hand, not harshly, but with definitive finality. And for that, I continued, I'm actually grateful. It forced me to build a life I truly love. A life that isn't built on the shaky foundation of someone else's whims. I don't hate you. I don't wish you ill. But I also don't think about you. You are a closed file. A lesson learned. Tears of frustration now, not sadness, welled in her eyes. So that's it. After everything, you're just going to be this cold, unfeeling robot. I almost smiled. No, I feel plenty. I feel the sun on my face when I hike. I feel the satisfaction of a project well built. I feel excitement for my future. I've just chosen to stop feeling anything for you. It was a choice that improved my life immeasurably. I stood up, pulling my carry-on bag over my shoulder. I placed a $10 bill on the table for my coffee. I have a plane to catch. I hope you find what you're looking for, Qley. But it won't be with me. Goodbye. I turned and walked out of the cafe, leaving her sitting there, small and defeated. I didn't look back. The Colorado air was waiting for me, and the mountains were calling me home. She was already a ghost, and I had stopped believing in ghosts a long time ago. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. What do you think about this story? Share it in the comments.